So I discovered to my great delight a YouTube channel about a possum lady who claims to channel this great squirrel. Um, Pearl, yeah, that's who it is. And she totally makes fun of the whole concept of like Abraham Hicks and the channeling, and there's also Bashar who channels. And I find the making fun of it absolutely hilarious. But I also think that Abraham Hicks is one of the deepest, most life changing teachers there are. And I have had experiences where I have um, received or been in tune to a presence or something that was wanting me to go in that direction. And I've experienced everything that Abraham Hicks has said as true, and yet it's it's an incredible thing to see how there are so many different like archetypes and deities and names of things and things to worship and things to give credit or give source to. But of course, Abraham Hicks, yeah, she says that she's channeling Abraham, but what she's really doing is pointing you towards connecting to your own source, that which is nameless. Strangely enough, uses all kinds of names in order to get our attention sometimes. And what we imagine and what we put out and what we believe and what we want to see manifested bears fruit. And this is one of the really strange things about it, that reality is this blank slate of creation and we're creating it. And sometimes we have some pretty crazy mythological or archetypal experiences to help to sort of like point us beyond. And so, what you're aware of is a very small section of what you really are. So I'm talking about on the level of mind. So of course this happens in um, like a moment if you're going to recall certain things. So what you are is basically you're a receiver. So if you're in a happy mood, you're more likely to remember happy memories or just have happy things come up into your mind space. And if you're in a negative mood, you're going to have negative things come up. And so when we get in tune with and very like in a receiving mode, then kind of information can come from the source, can come from what we really are, but it can also seem to come through some pretty strange ways. And so if this is something that you want to experience and it can be really, really incredible, then it's probably something that you will experience because reality is so much more practical and so much wilder because there is really no framework here. There's nothing holding this together whatsoever. It's incredibly freeing, and it can also feel incredibly terrifying. And so this is why spiritual people seem so crazy, because they're becoming in tune to more things than we normally do. So in the dream state, we can become in tune with certain archetypes or certain things. There's the subconscious, but there's no duality, there's no subconscious. This is all you, and you're all receiving all of this. Even things that we say that are in our consciousness, like what we had for breakfast this morning, we're not thinking of right now. And so experiences, lessons, wisdom, all kinds of things that were gathered or whatever by the collective consciousness, your mind has no borders. There's no separation. What somebody else is thinking, you can be in tune to thinking too. This is how all these sort of strange things can come together. And it seems so strange, and yet in your direct experience, there is no border. You do not experience a mind outside a thought about it. And you are what's aware of your thoughts, and it's complete openness. Anything can happen. And so often we see other people having some sort of experiences, and sometimes we're like, oh my God, that's crazy, or it scares us in some way. But really, like, the direct kind of way to get honest about this is, do I wish that I was having that experience too? And I was an incredibly, like, practical, rational person. I was Christian, but I made that fit into my framework. So within the Christianity framework, I was open-minded about some things, but other things completely not. And my parents had us all work in, like, we worked all the time when we were teenagers, and so they took care of the cemeteries in town. So we spent hours and hours there. And my sister said that she saw a ghost. And my dad was open-minded to it, but I was like, no, I never believed her. And then there was this other, like, woods road that we were running on. And she just through intuition found the cellar, which when we looked up in the Historical Society records, his house had been there. He died in the Civil War, and we also discovered that there was one few veterans flags. There were 3 veterans in the family, and there were only 2 flags, and 2 flags being honored there. So before Memorial Day, we did the research, and we made sure, and we put a whole new veterans marker and put him on the record there. And she had, like, seen something there and so I did not know what to think about this story, like, my whole life. I could never forget it. And really, I was jealous of her that she had that kind of connection and I hadn't. And so I said it wasn't possible. But in my heart, I knew. I mean, those kind of connections come out of nowhere. And since then, I've experienced stuff like that. But I also know that the intuition that is not really real, it's not really practical, also had a grain of truth to it. Because when we go back to our direct experience, and that's where things are beyond sane and insane, and there's no question of you going insane with this. When you just really stay with the now, it's so mundane, so practical, so everyday, so not threatening, does not require any courage or knowledge or anything whatsoever, and yet it's completely free and borderless.